started out in DNA, we also worked directly with some of these kind of metaphors. We had like a thing where we wouldn't improvise, and many people would hear us and they would think, oh, they are improvising, and we were like rehearsing the stuff endlessly. It was just we were building it from whatever kind of techniques we could cobble together, because we hadn't studied music at all. So we didn't know what a count was, much less chord sequence or anything. But we didn't even know what 4/4 was. We'd never heard of it. So we didn't want to improvise, though, and we would only allow ourselves to improvise at the top of the stairs, was the way we put it. So in other words, only when we had really sweat and when we had been bearing down hard on something that we knew because we'd repeated it a million times, would we allow ourselves a spurt of improvisation. You know what I mean? It's a much more kind of basic metaphor, you know what I'm saying? But it's kind of similar, you know what I mean? We would like squeeze the thing and then we'd allow this break, you know what I mean, and jump back into it,
Se eu quiser fumar, eu fumo. Se eu quiser beber, eu bebo. Pago tudo que eu consumo, com suor, o meu emprego. Confusão eu não arrumo, mas também não peço arrego. Eu um dia me aprumo, tenho fé no meu apego. Eu só posso ter chamego com quem me faz cafuné, como vampiro, morcego, é homem e mulher. O meu linguajar é nato, não estou falando grego. Tem amor, amigos de fato, nos lugares onde eu chego.
Not at the very beginning, but when Tim Wright joined DNA, Tim Wright was a sound man, you know what I mean? And we were super concerned with sound. And, I was reading all this John Cage, Morton Feldman stuff, and we were listening to music from all over the world and a lot of jazz and some classical, stuff, as well as all the rock and roll stuff, you know what I mean? We were really concerned with sound. So sound was more we made a vocabulary to express ideas about sound, and we, people called it noise, you know what I mean? And we didn't, like somebody says in the paper, king of noise, you know what I mean? And no, I didn't really, we also didn't think we were like anti everything, and people immediately assumed that we were anti this and anti that, and we were just kind of like, we were just trying to make something that nobody ever had made before, you know what I mean? We're just trying to do something, put something out there. First kind of noise, wall of sound, block of sound or whatever guy that I heard was, we all did it, you know what I mean? But a guy who did it, that was his thing, was this guy Boyd Rice, who also was then this kind of Nazi fetishist, totally weird guy. I only met him maybe once or something, but he used to do this like, kind of like what Merzbow did too at the beginning, just like, and he would achieve it in different ways, and it was super loud, and that was just it. The bands, like DNA, Mars, we would achieve this kind of roar, but it wasn't that different than the roar that television would achieve, or, you know, I don't know, the Stooges, whatever, Lou Reed, people would just rise to a roar and just, you know what I mean? It was a kind of basic rock thing. Everybody plays too loud. No matter what you do, you can't affect it. It's just there. It's this thing, it's this cloud. Now you're in there. What do? You're like, where's, please play a beat. You want to make a dent. You want to slice a little silence in there. You can't, you know what I mean? It's very frustrating. And the audience, and you have to kill it, you know what I mean? In a rock band, at least you have a kind of common throb, but when you're improvising, that's really the worst, because there's not even any pulse. There's no connection to your thighs, you know what I mean? It's just like bleeding. It's just like the intentionality seems wrong, wimpy, offensive, vulgar, like spiritually vulgar, or something like that, you know what I mean? You're just like, ah! That's one of the worst experiences I've ever had musically, is everybody's improvising at the same time and you cannot affect that thing. And yet nobody will stop and everybody's kind of continuing and you wonder what the hell they think they're doing and, who are these people, and get me out of here, let's go to a disco, you know what I mean?